lost legions of Rome have once again entered the deadly forest where none shall return. Will history repeat itself, or will the Romans be able to fight their way out against humongous odds against them? Let's go ahead and dive in and find out. Hey, how's it going? My name is Jackie Fish and welcome back to an Ancient Empires online battle. My god, it's been forever since I've last taken a look at Ancient Empires, and really, that is a goddamn travesty because Ancient Empires is one of my favorite mods out there. It does so many amazing things, and also, if you're interested in the mod itself, there's going to be an absolutely massive, when I say massive, I mean complete overhaul of the mod coming out very, very soon. It's in testing. I'm going to be able to take a look at it pretty soon, so expect that on the channel. They're going to completely revamp the way that the building system works, changing up a ton of factions, cultures. It's going to be insane, so make sure you're subscribed if you're not already to keep up to date with that. But in today's online battle, we do have this awesome fight as the Romans try and break their way through the Barbarian ambush, which is going to just descend upon them in complete chaos. I mean, one, you can look at the balance of power and realize the Romans are pretty goddamn screwed. They're also outnumbered 2-1, and yeah, it's going to be an absolutely just hectic battle as the Romans try and break their way through this forest. I also want to give a massive shout out to the guys who sent in this battle. They've sent me a bunch recently, and I really appreciate it. So everyone who's playing in this battle, keep these coming. More Ancient Empires as well, and if you guys want to see more Ancient Empires, do let me know. So as you can see, for the Romans, the players decided instead of bringing kind of like one specific legion, they were just like, yeah, why not just take all of them? So you're going to see kind of legions from pre-Marian to Marian to basically just everything, you know. You're going to see, well, not pre-Marian, but you know what I mean. You're going to see kind of like early period legionaries, and then you're going to see late period legionaries and everything in between. So don't expect kind of like a historical format, but I mean, that does look amazing. That's something that I really love about Ancient Empires as well. It's just that, like, there are, like, I think there's 20 odd legions, all with their different aesthetic. It's, yeah, really, really cool. And obviously for the Barbarians, I believe they're going to be attacking in waves, so you're going to get, like, 1 or 2 waves. The Romans are going to then reform, and then another assault is going to come in. So it's going to be very interesting to see if they're going to be able to make it, and how much damage are the Barbarians going to be able to output. Because Ancient Empires has a very, very interesting style of combat where fatigue plays one of probably the largest amount of like impact in any Total War game. Your exhausted troops, I believe, fight at like 0.2 of their actual fighting strength. So, you know, if you have a really exhausted but elite unit, they're going to probably get bested, you know, if they come up against a mid-range infantry unit, because they're just so tired. They can't swing their sword anymore. You know, they're keeling over for breath. So when you do have double the numbers, when you have 16,000 barbarians getting ready to descend upon your army, you know, eventually you are going to get tired. And here we go. The assault is now occurring. If we can take a look on them, is it going to let me insert over there? There we go. The Barbarians are going to come flying out of the woods. And also, I think every unit in the game has some form of projectile. So not only does that like impact become really brutal, it's also they all throw javelins. So because they throw javelins, you kind of just like drop men on the charge and yeah, do some pretty serious damage. So I think the Romans have now seen them. You can see them in the distance forming up. As more and more of the Barbarians, the archers go further forward. Yeah, the Romans have already formed or they formed a battle column. There we go! Oh, that is epic, man. That is epic. That really, really is. So they're going to form a defensive formation. Is there an attack coming from the other side? So it looks like they're going to be leaving a... Oh, wow. This is kind of really cool. This is kind of like what I would imagine would happen is like... They would leave men behind to form up in a, you know, attacking. Well, I imagine what would happen in real life is that they would fight and then they would make a fighting retreat, right? That's what I would assume the Roman, like, tacticians would do. They would, like, form up as best as they can, analyze the situation, and then do a fighting retreat. But they have formed this testudo, which is going to be very beneficial for them as the hail of javelins come in. As I said, in Ancient Empires, every unit has some form of mainly every unit has some form of projectile. So that's 240 javelins times 2 coming in. And you can see a few Romans are even going down. And this is also a really good move by the Barbarians, because when the Romans are in testudo, they're not using their pila either. So the Barbarians can really take that to their advantage. as they do come flying in. And you can see the soldiers already coming around the flank. We have Legio 22 here, ready to hold the defensive line, and the cavalry coming around causing issues. Are these Romans going to throw a peeler? Or they do throw a peeler. Oh, that's going to be brutal on the horses. But then the horse is going to come in and countercharge them. That was a really nice camera work by me. Shout out to your boy. The Roman column does seem like it has been halted. I think there's more barbarians coming into view. Yeah, the Romans have halted on the front line, which could be pretty catastrophic for them. I mean, just look at that barbarian battle line, guys. It stretches. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's amazing. And that's one of the things as well I love about Ancient Empires is just the scale of it. They really do go hard, and you know, not for everyone. Not everyone can handle these battles. You can see the engine is kind of chugging a little bit. And I have a very, very, very good computer. But for the most part, you know, we got over 24,000 men. We got a lot. Yeah, we've got one hell of a lot of soldiers right here. 21,000-ish, you know. No, more than that, 23,000. God, maths is hard at 10 o'clock in the morning. Oh, and a pretty big cavalry charge like so into the back of this Legio. Legio 4 getting absolutely smashed right there in the rear. They're going to obviously be able to turn around but take heavy casualties. And you can see the morale is dropping. Even though they're an elite Roman unit, no soldier would want to be rear charged in the back. They're still holding though. They've managed to regain composure. They've reformed their formation and they've steadied the ship. But that cavalry charge is going to come in big. Really, really big. You can see the fire arrows coming in from the auxiliaries now. What do we have? Oh, yeah, that's another really cool system as well that Ancient Empires have. There's so many auxiliaries. Rome just has such a clean roster going throughout its time as an empire. It's just really, 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 you know, fun faction to mess around with in the campaign. And I'm definitely going to be taking a look at the actual overhaul campaign as well when that comes out, which hopefully won't be too long. So yeah, we've kind of got the first wave, and the Romans are holding fairly decently right now, but that's going to kind of initiate the rest of the barbarian forces to make their way in now. I feel like Rome is going to be able to, you know, withstand this assault, but it's when the next waves come in, you know, is when this army comes in, and then these kind of spring their ambush, and then obviously, I mean, there's just so many of them still left remaining. There's also the Roman general all the way over here. Varus, where are my legions? Yeah, he's out of there. He's outie, boys. He's going to be back in Rome sipping cocktails by noon. Yeah, there's a lot of archers forming up. More reinforcements are being sent. We've got Legio, what, 16 is this? Making its way over to kind of guard the rear of the column. But barbarians are breaking their way through. Luckily, though, the Celtic naked fanatics were routed right there. These archers, obviously, getting a pretty nice volley in on the naked fanatics. Not very heavily armored, besides that, you know, heavy shield. And more bowmen are coming over. Going to be shooting off another volley onto them, sending them packing as more and more of a fire arrows come in. So archers, arrows in Ancient Empires, again, are very interesting. So I don't, and obviously, like, maybe a lot of you guys know all of this already, but I feel like this is definitely an underplayed battle mod. Like, not that many people play it in multiplayer, and it really has some amazing features to create some very epic battles. You know, I think, well, this is probably one of my favorite battle systems in any Total War, for sure. Like, yeah, for sure, yeah, definitely, I would say that. Because it's just so unique, and it tries to do so much that I wish Total War would actually do. But arrows don't so much act as like a killing machine like you see in a lot of, like in just normal Total War, you know. They're more of a deterrent. They're more to slow up infantry. When units are taking arrow fire, they put up their shields in Ancient Empires. And that kind of gives status effects to the unit. So right now, you know, if a unit is taking fire, they have less morale because they're scared of being hit by an arrow. They're a lot slower because instead of running forward, they've got their shield over their head. So they're obviously being a lot more careful, looking not to trip over or anything. And also they're holding a huge shield above their head. So there's a lot of stuff like that, which kind of tries its best to simulate an actual battle and how troops feel during that battle, you know, rather than kind of like these units not just being like mindless souls. But there are definitely, you know, situations where that doesn't kind of work as well as it could, and then there's situations where it just works perfectly, you know. At the end of the day, this is a mod, and they can only do as much as they can, you know. Cavalry charge ripping through this unit. This unit has definitely received so much punishment. Legio 4, Flavia Felixia? So I couldn't quite see that. Yeah, they've broken. They have been ripped from the battlefield, and they have been taken. away. I also think that everyone, I think the player also brought a first cohort of every single unit as well, rather than just the normal legionaries. So yeah, he's going ham. There's going to be like 40 eagles being lost in this battle probably, so F in the chat for Rome. Still no more assaults, but the main body has now advanced into a firing range. The Romans are going to be forming up, I think, in a shield wall. Yeah, they formed up in kind of, again, a thinner testudo. And kind of the battle, it's so quiet down here compared to the hectic mayhem going on the other side of the field. But the archer fire is going to be going off. The Romans have formed up an entire column right now in a defensive situation. As, hectic and, just mayhem does occur. Another charge coming in. But again, this is kind of taking away one of the strongest Roman advantages, and that's probably the Pila. So even though these testudos do form up, give them a lot of protection from the incoming missiles, it allows the barbarians to get this close to them, throw every single one of their javelins, and then get the charge bonus off as well, before the Romans can really decimate the ranks of the incoming infantry. A lone horse running through there. Oh my god, the horse, no! Seabiscuit! Goddamn barbarians, you'll pay for this. Yeah. Oh, the Romans are now breaking formation to throw. I mean, that's not a bad idea. That's actually a really good plan. Form that testudo with receiver fire and then lob off your own Pila, because this Pila will do a lot of damage as they fire back. These are some pretty serious Roman legionaries. I think these are legionary first cohorts from every single legion. So, not really the most historic battle. Because as well as that, with that projectile system I mentioned earlier, the Pila does kind of feel like Pila, because as the unit's charging in against you, the Romans are throwing their javelins, which is, severely hampering the speed and morale of the incoming unit. A lot of the time, units running against Roman formations will just break after having that many heavy Pilas being thrown at you, because if one didn't hit you, one would take out your shield, and then the next one would come in and just, man. The Romans did definitely get very good at killing. That is for sure. So if we take a look at the overall battlefield right now, you can see the kind of majority, I would say about 2/3 of the Roman column is under heavy attack right now. The rear is starting to maybe see some light. They're starting to slowly break up, and they have a couple units in reserve as well, which can be committed to any holes that, are needing to be breached. But the main barbarian assault is coming in right now. I mean, they still have I say the main barbarian assault, the main one is kind of still left here. And that's going to be brutal, especially if they all attack in one big go. That's going to be brutal. I'd say the second main assault is coming in. The fire arrows are doing a pretty good job at lowering the morale of the main front line, and these units are getting very, very tired, whereas the Roman discipline is allowing them. That's one of the things that quality units do have over, kind of lower tier infantry, because these are tier 3, whereas these are tier 2, is that the units will get tired quicker. So even though, a mid-tier unit can beat a super elite tier unit, it's going to take them longer to get to that stage. You can see these guys, they're still evenly matched, and they are still holding on. So even though they're very close to wavering, I think that the Romans have done kind of like everything they can to break these guys, and they're going to have to wait for these units to get exhausted before routing, I think. But we are seeing quite a lot of breaks coming from the other side as more and more Romans do get engaged. I think the reserves are being brought up now. Yeah, a fresh unit of infantry are being brought up. This right flank, though, is starting to get very, very tired. A lot of arrow fire coming in, though, slaughtering these auxiliaries. And more barbarians are being sent packing, but the Romans are taking quite heavy damage as the battle does continue on. Numbers-wise, you can see the Romans have lost around about 1,200 soldiers, and the barbarians coming in have lost just over 2,000. So at the moment, 2-1 is going in favor of the Romans, but I think eventually their numbers will start to match up, and obviously the more the Romans lose, the less chance they have. So every man is a lot more valuable for them, because they're in such a defensive position. All it takes is a couple breaches, a couple envelopments, and there's going to be some units just straight up fleeing from the battlefield. Oh man, some of the barbarians. Yeah, you can see how thin the Roman line is here as well. There are 4 or 5 soldiers holding back the entire Gallic army. That's pretty shaky. We need this Roman to come out on top in this battle. He needs to claim victory here and push on. And reform the line. Back in formation. Seems like he's going to be fighting to the death fight. Hopefully he wins because, yeah, this Roman battle line is not looking good. And yeah, you can see that the Legio 5 is taking an absolute pounding on that front line. And more Gaulic cavalry stirs in the woods. The wood also provides a lot more bonuses to the Roman infantry, or to the barbarians as well. You can see that, you know, being in the woods, you know, can allow you to hide units. It reduces your speed really dramatically. And obviously also your charge bonus. And that's, again, something that I think is really fun in the Ancient Empires battle, is terrain tries to play a big difference in the battle. Because units and their fatigue are so important, you can't just sprint infantry to every part of the battlefield, because they're going to get tired and they're going to fight a lot worse. So you kind of need just to walk everywhere. And if your speed is reduced by missile fire, by the terrain, it means that you can't necessarily plug the gaps that you want to be plugging as quickly. So you kind of have to almost preemptively move your units somewhere, expecting a breach to happen or expecting a rout to come in, which again is really cool. Not a lot of battle mods try and do something that kind of in-depth, and it's great to see that trying to occur. So, all the Romans are under full-on assault now. The rest of the battle line has now been committed, and now their front line is completely being assaulted. However, they have managed to repel some of these tier 2 infantry, but now we have the Celtic elite infantry, and I think, yeah, oh, look at the bad boys move up. They're just like, yeah, let's go, boys. Throwing some javelins off into the enemy Roman battle line, and now they're charging in for honor and glory. And yeah, they're what, like 3v1ing this one unit of Roman infantry. Definitely going to be a hard fight for them. They're obviously already depleted. They're probably going to get tired pretty quickly. I know, the Gauls are doing a good job at kind of forming up their, you know, a pretty thin formation, so they can just try and pierce through the Roman battle line. Oh, big breaks going over here. I assume it's because, yeah, because they got exhausted, they're breaking. They might come back if, yeah, I think there's a few infantrymen, yeah, who have come back from routing. I think it's just when they stop getting exhausted, their morale kind of sorts itself out, and they can kind of shift back to come from routing. But it takes a while for that to happen, as more and more of the fighting does continue on the battle line. The Romans, though, have managed to wrap up this flank with the support of Legio 11. And what do we have here? Legio 1. That's what I'd like to see. They've managed to kind of wrap up and surround this unit of spearmen. The spearmen, though, obviously going to be doing a bit better. The Celtic spear wall. But as I said, I think it's a matter of time until, you know, they just, as soon as they hit that exhausted, they're enveloped, they're taking casualties. It's just enough to break them, especially with the fire arrows coming in as well. The trees will definitely be setting ablaze as well in the field. You know, this forest will be burnt to a crisp. Well, they found evidence as well, which is just, it's just crazy, like, because a lot of people think of, like, you know, these battles just to be over in like an instant, in like an afternoon. Whereas in Teutoburg Forest, they held out for like 5 days. And could you just imagine, like, imagine being one of them Roman soldiers? You just, like, literally cannot imagine anything what it was like there. Constantly being under attack, not being able to sleep. There's evidence that they built fortifications in the forest, or like in a clearing in the forest, you know. They tried to build a fort there to try and hold out, you know, and it's just constant attacking. Man, it must have just been absolutely horrific as you just march over your dead, like, stuff like that is just, like, literally incomprehensible. Really, really is. But at least you get to experience it in video games, I guess, without the threat of life and death, so that's always a nice difference. So some of the Roman archers are breaking off the barbarians, and like as I said, the barbarians are being pushed back. They just have so many men, and the Romans are losing infantry. But more than that, they're getting tired. Luckily, I don't quite know how these guys are fresh, but yeah, these Romans are exhausted. The rear is actually pretty fresh as well. Yeah, I don't really know how these Romans are so fresh. I guess, you know, they've just got some good abilities and stuff. Yeah, you can see some of these Romans are actually getting close to breaking. Legio 22. It's steady and it's fresh, but yeah, I don't know. It's starting to drop down a little bit. We have 2 Roman legionary units right here being committed against the Celtic warband. So the Celts are definitely throwing forward some of their like most elite infantry in this battle. And I feel like the Romans, you know, they still have a lot of reserves, which is great to see. Yeah, they still have what, like 4 or 5 units in reserve. But I feel like the main body of the Gallic army has just not been committed yet. Literally like 10,000 ghouls are just waiting in that forest for the final assault. I kind of feel like the Romans are gonna definitely struggle to keep on pushing. I mean, they've been held. Their formation has been halted for some time now. I think initially they wanted to try and keep on pushing and leave a vanguard back, but as more and more ghouls approached, they have just simply been caught, and yeah, there's not much they can really do but except try and fight their way out. I mean, as you can see, they made a pretty big breach over, kind of dent in the enemy line, and they're trying to reform as best as they can. A lot of these, Celtic warriors have now come back, as, they've kind of no longer taken missile fire or anything, so they can basically reform, but the units are exhausted, so you're going to have to leave these guys out of the battle for quite a while to let them have any impact. The Romans are now reforming, but yeah, they've got a very, very thin line. Very thin line indeed, and like positions like this are just going to break. Legio 3 can't withstand this assault. Neither can Legio 15 either. They are just going to be broken upon. And that's going, yeah, oh baby, the main body is, I think, moved a little bit. I don't know. I thought I saw a little bit of movement in the forest. No, maybe just reforming a little bit, but oh my god, the army's going to come crushing in and just decimate them. I mean, luckily the Romans do have reserves, and again, I think that's so important in ancient empires, is to keep your reserves, because, fatigue is such an issue. You need to be able to replenish, you need to be able to reinforce your lines where your men are tired, and, keep your soldiers raring to go. So having reserves is very important, especially in a scenario like this, where you're going to get attacked again and again. Oh, it seems like the Gallic line, though, is reforming. A lot of their routing units are coming back and reforming the battle line, even though they are exhausted. But it seems like, for the most part, they're now trying to, like, reform off to kind of almost split the Romans in half. I mean, it would not be a bad idea, right, to cave in right here and try and cut the Roman rear off, because they're still fighting against the Gallic cavalry that have now engaged their infantry. Ziva horse is just pinning these guys in place, which is pretty smart. And they're very tired as well. Yeah, the infantry out here is now getting pretty tired as they continue to fight. Yeah, exhausted. I'm still surprised how these guys are so fresh. I guess they have had, a little bit of a break from the fighting, a lull in the fighting. Oh, but the Roman line is starting to mass break them, which is very useful. I mean, they've taken heavy casualties, but repelling this battle line is going to be pretty useful for them, because it will give them that respite. I think that's one of the things that the barbarians have going for them in this battle, is that they can constantly attack the front line. Whereas it seems like, if the Romans can get 5 minutes to get their breath back, they'll be fighting a lot more effectively than if, the assaults were to keep on coming in without a break. You can definitely tell the quality difference in the Gallic infantry. Those who are completely naked and those who actually have some decent armor. Romans, oh yeah, look at that. The fire arrows, just arrow fire and rest of that just coming in. That's what I'm saying, like, you have to be really careful. Luckily, these guys are getting their energy back, so they come back fairly quickly. They're just kind of like out of formation and disorganized more than anything else. The Roman missile fire proving its worth. Missile superiority, at least on this right flank. And there you have the main Gallic battle line has been completely broken right now. The Romans do have time to get their breath back. I mean, I don't know how much use that's going to be, as the main assault is yet to come, right? Because we've only had what, half? Yeah, literally half. Not even a half. Wow, that's nowhere near half. And we've only had 6,000 Gauls assault this Roman formation, and there's still another 10,000 left to come. So I wish them luck. The Romans are forming up. They've even sent forward an advanced force right here. Legio 5 has been tasked with breaking this Celtic spear wall. More and more infantry being committed. It seems like this infantry has just given up now. They've completely broken. I imagine because they've seen like the rest of their soldiers breaking, so they've definitely had enough of it. And that's going to allow Rome to like reform. This is awesome, man. I love how they're forming up these columns. They're reforming up marching column. They're going to get their infantry back to the front. Wouldn't be surprised as well if they maybe just rested these guys for a bit as well. But they're going to be reforming up and continuing, I guess, to advance the column forward, you know, try and make some ground. And they were just breaking off the last couple of infantry there. Yeah, they're going to quickly just try and move everything over. If they can break through, I imagine, like, obviously going through the clearing, this is going to be where they next probably end up making their last stand. They obviously also have Varus all the way over here. And the elite-looking cavalry. Very heavily armoured, indeed. Do they have a lot of... Yeah, they still have javelins, missiles. Yeah, this is going to be brutal for the Romans if they try and break forward. But let's just go ahead and jump ahead a little bit until the Romans are ready to, advance their marching column, so we don't just end up watching nothing for a little while. The Roman column is on the move. However, I think it is only a matter of time until they get smashed. Basically, for the past 5 minutes, which is what I kind of cut out, they were just getting harassed by kind of routed units that came back and just trying to keep the Romans occupied. And you can see it's kind of working. You know, the Roman formation is in a lot of disarray. If the Gauls were to come out of the woods right now, I think that would definitely mess up the Roman formation. You can also see that there was a kind of a fairly large engagement right back here. The Romans have managed to fought it off, but... this is obviously taking 4 units who are now very tired in this battle, and they're going to have to quickly try and move up and reform the line with the rest of the Roman formation. So I'd say, you know, even though the Romans probably at this point feel like the worst of it is behind them, but literally it's all in front of them. Trust me, I've seen it. I've looked in them woods and I've definitely noticed a handful of Gauls still ready to bring the pain on the Roman formation, and yeah, it's going to be pretty bloodied. I mean, they can already start to see a couple units kind of standing in their way, which aren't hidden in the forest. Every unit with this kind of eye symbol is actually hidden. You can see that this one isn't, but yeah, everything else is hidden. So the Romans right now have no idea what's laying in wait for them. They can only see a handful of infantry which are I guess, there to intimidate the Roman formation. And we'll take a look at the front of the column. We have Legio 6 here at the front, who seemingly have already lost their eagle, so that's pretty shameful. Yeah, I'm seeing a very few eagles on the front of these units. Because as I said, I think every unit brought in a eagle first cohort, so you know, which obviously is pretty stupid, but it's hilarious nonetheless. And I'm seeing a few very few eagles this day. So the column has come to a halt once again. I wonder what they're planning here. We can just triple speed through most of this. I want to kind of keep it in because it's interesting to see where the Romans are going to decide to meet their fate. And the problem is as well, if I was Rome, I would maybe have replaced these exhausted legions. Because again, actually for the most part, a lot of these guys are actually fresh now. They obviously took a long break whilst there was a lot of fighting over at the rear of the column. But these guys who have just been fighting are exhausted. I'm surprised the Romans haven't tried to reinforce, switched over the infantry they have on the front lines with the infantry rear. Like, obviously they're going to get smashed by all of this, and they can actually see the majority of this infantry in the forest, but they're just trying to get as far forward as they can, I think. Yeah, so they obviously know stuff is here. But I'm surprised they haven't, move this infantry over here and move the tired ones and weakened ones towards the back, just to kind of make it a little bit easier, because they must expect the main, obviously the battlefield is a square at the end of the day. The main assault must be ready to come in here as the Romans continue to march forward bravely. And again, it wouldn't be surprising to me as well if the Romans did decide to clench up their formation a little bit. But here we go. What seemed to be the final assault. 4.5 brave Romans go up against 8,000 Gauls. So again, they're not as outnumbered as they were at the beginning of a battle, but I think their formation is going to be not as effective as it was necessarily at the beginning. And I imagine also the quality is about to come up as the Gauls come closer, getting ready to throw their projectiles from every single side. The rear of the Roman column, though, is a little bit, safer, but they just have exhausted soldiers here. Romans are also trying to reform up. I don't really know what's happening here, but if gaps appear, that's going to be the end of the Roman line. If the Gauls can get their numbers, their weight through these gaps, then It's going to be pretty deadly. The Romans are unleashing their peeler. That's going to break up the oncoming charge. And I think the Romans are definitely going to have the most success on this right-hand side here. Just because these guys are fresh. They literally haven't seen any battle. They have all their peeler left. And they're coming up against the least resistance. So what I'd assume would happen is after they've managed to clear this up, they'll probably then look to reinforce the rest of the Roman lines. And you can see the Gauls coming in. The heavy horse maneuvering their way in. Obviously, I assume making their way up to throw javelins. But they're actually getting charged right now by the oncoming Legio 7. Yeah, Legio 7 is coming in and actually charging this heavy horse that has been left alone. I imagine the player controlling the main Roman force right now is having maybe a little bit of a hard time trying to do everything. Because there's just so much. I mean, on both sides, there is a lot of people coming in. As the fire arrows move in. But yeah, it's just a complete surround right now. The Romans are definitely fighting for survival at this point in the battle. That is for sure. But can they do it? I mean, there's just still so much in the forest just coming out right now. And yeah, I think that rear is just going to be so detrimental to their formation. Because, you know, if that breaks, then it's just over, you know. Once their numbers can break through. And I mean, I think they can quite easily abuse these gaps as well that they already have occurred, you know. We just zoom in on it, you can really see the numbers coming in. Yeah, I think the Romans are definitely going to be hard-pressed to keep this one in check. But again, they have a lot of fresh legionaries in the rear, so maybe they can just, go, full-on sicko mode and clear out the main force. Legio 1 back here looking so great. So I think there's, obviously there's multiple legionaries called the same, at least Legio 1. Because I believe there's 3 stages. They have Marian... something in Imperial? No, I think it's just maybe Marian Legionaries and Imperial Legionaries. There's 2 sets, but each obviously offer you a large amount of them. So I think we have the Marian Legio 1 and we have the Imperial Legio 1. Oh wow, no, that's the same one. Wait, is it? Yeah, I'm hovering over the same one, right? No, they're both Legio 1s, but these are both oh, it's the same Legion? Am I just... It's the same Legion, but they're different, right? They have different shields and stuff. I don't know. They got blue shields, so I'm just going to roll with it. A secondary wave of defense getting ready to block this. How's that? Oh, they're just exhausted. That's going to be the killer of this Roman army. And you can see the morale is dropping. Their own fire arrows are starting to cause a few morale issues. But that's going to kind of be their only saving grace, is if they can mass rout the Roman formation, which is not going to be easy, is it? It's not going to be easy to be able to break that. Especially as more javelins and archers come up. You know, what the archers need to be doing is they need to be hitting these more fresh Roman legionaries in the rear. And you can already start to see the envelopment coming in. And that's going to be pretty catastrophic. That's going to be a lot more influential than a usual battle is. Because now that they're enveloped, they feel like, the battle lines are broken. Why should they stick around? I mean, there is no hope. But they don't think that, if they hold firm... battle can be won. They are seeing their comrades being cut down left, right, and center. And now more Gallic infantry is now being committed to the fight. Seeing this gap, the Gallic player is going to quickly advance soldiers through here. I mean, these are Germanium, but I think this is supposed to be like a Vercingetorix style battle. But obviously Vercingetorix was 50 years beforehand. And yeah, a lot of breaking on the Roman frontier. A lot of breaking. I mean, this gap has just been created as well. And I think this might be the end of the line for them, honestly, because with this gap being created, just so much infantry is going to pour through now and envelop them. And there's not really much they can do about it. They can simply hold firm and hope. But yeah, with the infantry coming through, it's going to be brutal. Luckily, these archers have managed to rout more of these Gauls coming in, more of the Knight Warriors, but the Germans are flying in with these awesome-looking shields. And they're now silencing the archers as well, which is going to be big. Numbers-wise, I think the Roman numbers are going to be dropping here dramatically. Look how quickly that number is going down. Only 2,800 of them. Yeah, the entire front of the column has collapsed in now. And I think this is where the massacring does begin. Yeah, I think this is definitely where the massacre does begin, with the Roman front line being completely smashed. Oh my god, yeah, the exhausted front line on this right-hand side here, completely broken. The horse come flying in, and you only have the kind of fresher reserve legionaries holding firm. No, this Roman legionary, Legio 20, bravely, literally completely enveloped under javelin fire coming in their back. These guys have, like, javelins lodged in their back. Well, they did until they went invisible. Completely enveloped, but because they're fresher, you know, because they're not, I mean, they broke now, but that's just because everything is breaking around them. The Romans have managed to fight off this assault, though, so they'll be able to turn and face their oncoming assault, but all hope is lost. Yeah, the numbers are just, we lost 1,000 soldiers on the Roman side before we last looked. And again, the way battles tend to end on this game is in a mass rout rather than like fighting to the end. And again, that's to simulate how battles actually played out. You know, most of the time, only around about, you know, 20% of an army would end up dying in a battle. Everyone would just run. Well, I'd say like 20 to 40%. You know, of an actual ancient army would end up dying, unless it's like a crazy battle, something like Cannae. Yeah, but that's definitely an anomaly in the history books for sure. The majority of the time, you know, you'd lose about 40% of your fighting force in a crushing defeat. And everyone else would just flee. And I think that's definitely going to be the case this day as the last brave legionaries holding firm. What's going to be left? Probably Legio 5 is going to be the last legion left, just because it's in the center, so it's going to take a little bit longer. We also have a pretty brave fight going on out here as well. A few kind of pockets of Roman resistance fighting bravely, as they know there is no escape at this point. They've seen the rest of their comrades run and get cut down, so they will fight bravely. And they are having some success, routing a handful of the heavy horse and other infantrymen. The tier 2 Gallic warriors are, you know, Germanic warriors. Obviously not, you know, quality-wise, not going to be facing up against the elite Roman infantry, even though they are very tired at this point. But you have the rest of the entire German warband coming down on them, but there's just no hope. But still, what an epic battle that was, and that's why I love Ancient Empires, man. It just creates such, like, obviously the players also created this scenario, which was amazing. Please send me more battles like this. But it's also, you know, I feel like the way the battles work, if players understand how the battles work, they can create some amazing stuff. So, yeah, hopefully we'll get more battles, more interesting stuff. It'd be great. And there you go, the entire legionaries are gone. Varus, where are my legions? Yeah, he's gonna probably flee the battle very, very soon, as he's seen the destruction of his forces. And as you go over the battlefield, you can see where the Romans made their stand. I think this was probably one of the bloodiest engagements right here in this pocket, or in the corner. Well, I mean, obviously this was the bloodiest because that's where they all die. I mean, look at that outline. It kind of looks like a penis. Let's hope I don't get demonetized to all that. But yeah, what a battle that was. Please do send me in more Ancient Empires. Please try and have reserves as well. I love open field battles where there's like 3 lines of reserves and you kind of try and put infantry in and pull infantry out rather than just these big long battle lines, and I feel like this game would do that so well. So maybe we could have some really fun battles with Roman Carthage and stuff like that, where you actually have 3 lines of reserves and stuff, and you kind of send in infantry, pull out tired infantry. That'd be absolutely epic. I'm sure you guys could pull it off as well with a massive 4 versus 4 or 2 versus 2 or something. That'd be really, really cool to see. Especially the unit scale would as well be pretty goddamn crazy. But we have the cavalry have come over here to chase off the general. At least he's falling on his sword, though. He is going down in one last, fight, and he is going to be slain. A close defeat for the Romans. I would say that was, a slaughter. They've lost many a good legion. But hey, it's Rome. They can just muster another 100,000 men by the click of the fingers. So I'm sure they'll be fine. If we take a look at the kills, what legion did the best? So I think Legio 3 maybe did the best with over 400 kills. A lot of other legionaries getting over 300, but Yeah, these guys with 400, I think, doing the best. For the Gauls and the Germans, we can see that a bunch of their cavalry 120 kills, some of their infantry getting well over 100. These ones getting 200. So they're Knight Warriors as well, look pretty brutal in the picture. And over here as well, we have Vercingetorix again. Let's just pretend like he's just old. He's just very late in his old age. And managed to survive the Battle of Elysium. And then obviously the rest of the infantry as well doing pretty good. So yeah, cool. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this battle. If you want to see more of Ancient Empires on the channel, be sure to just drop a like and a comment. Let's try and break 250 likes for more Ancient Empires. And if we do get more Ancient Empires, I will beg Cassius to go ahead and create another battle so we can have more. And give me ideas. What kind of battles do you want to see? Let me know in the comments down below. And I'll see you guys in the next one.